But let's put the spotlight then on Pedilite. Bharat Puri is the managing director at Pedilite Industries, here to talk about their quarterly numbers and the earnings fine print. Good to have you on board, Mr. Puri. The company has forayed into the non-lending business, and that's a little bit perplexing because I think investors want to know why put your fingers maybe into too many pies. What is the rationale?
See, as far as our foray into the what is now being referred to as NBFC lending business, let's just take a step back. You see, at Pedilite, we are known for deep user and deep dealer connect. We have a domain ecosystem which is extremely large, which addresses a fairly large, market. I mean, the market in size would be extremely large. This has been a system which has consistently been asking us that, listen, at times we have needs for short-term capital. There are always bumps along the road, so on and so forth. Now, we are the only people, or one of the few people, who have this treasure trove of information. We have complete information on the people, their payment records, their credit worthiness, how much they buy, what's their condition, and therefore it makes very logical sense for us. A, it helps our business, but that's only one objective. B, today as an organization, as we're looking at going forward, it helps us build a much larger ecosystem where if there are short-term needs of capital, we're able to fulfill these. We are clear that this is not a big venture, or we don't want to be a large NBFC. We want to remain restricted to our domain ecosystem, people that we know very well. That's large enough for us. And in a sense, it complements the overall Pedilite offering. Hopefully, it also gives us greater strength. It builds greater loyalty. It builds greater connect. And obviously gives us a complete bird's eye view of how each of our partners is doing, and therefore how we can support them.
Right, but the street does have concerns about the capital allocation. So the question is, what is the message that you want to give your investors?
We are very clear that we are a home improvement company. We are a company that pioneers categories. We will therefore every year enter one or two new categories which we will pioneer. Pioneer categories by definition take anywhere between 2 to 5 years to really become growth categories. So as far as we're concerned, if you see 2 years or 3 years back, we started pioneering tile adhesives. It's now a growth category. We've just now started pioneering exterior renders. We put up a plant in Rajasthan. That's very early days. Hopefully, it'll become a category in the next 2 to 3 years. We pioneered or entered into the whole sealants business with sealants manufacturing. That's slowly becoming a growth business. Pedilite's basic model is one of that of a pioneer. We create categories, but we create not commodity categories, but we create branded categories. And that's what we will consistently keep doing over the next few years.
So then, is there any other category?
Exterior renders, for example, that's a completely new category. Nobody in India does that. It's very popular in Europe, so on and so forth. We're looking at pioneering that. And, right now, I won't disclose more because then it becomes an advance warning to other fellows. But knowing Pedilite, I can tell you that every year we will have at least one new exciting category which we will pioneer.
Now, your revenue growth this quarter has been subdued. What's the reason for that, and what really has hurt your revenue growth this quarter?
My simple invitation to you is, don't just look at the revenue growth, look at the volume growth. See, we've had a situation where over the last 2 years, prior to this year, that is, we had runaway inflation, and therefore we had to take a fair amount of pricing. Fortunately, input prices have stabilized, and therefore we are giving back price. We're therefore actually the price to the consumer is reducing. But if you look at it in this environment, if you look at the second quarter, for example, in the second quarter, we've had, a very wet July, a fairly dry August, lots of disruption. Rural areas have seen much more disruption. In that, we're delivering steady volume growth, which is about, you can see our underlying volume growth in the consumer businesses is 8%. And what is also welcome is our B2B businesses are bouncing back. Our B2B business in this quarter has grown 20% by, volume. And therefore, we're fairly satisfied with where we are, I've always maintained that for Pidilite, our goal is always, if we are a double-digit volume growth, everything else will take care of itself.
Okay, and what was the value growth, and going forward, what is the outlook in terms of your volume growth? What is the outlook in particular for the second half?
Our focus is clearly underlying volume growth because that is what remains with the consumer if you keep increasing your volumes. In the second half, we are, as we have said, fairly optimistic because A, this is a longer festival season. The festival season is always a spending time in India. The second half, therefore, portends, in our view, to be good. We have tailwinds. We see a fair amount of activity in the whole real estate and construction sector, which is continuing. This is something that really helps us. We're also seeing that the government's focus on capex results in demand for us. And therefore, if we were to look at the second half, the only headwind that we would be cautious about is, frankly, the geopolitical situation. What happened? We've unfortunately now had a series of geopolitical events, be it first with COVID, then with Russia, Ukraine, and now the situation in the Middle East. If that doesn't go out of hand, frankly, we're quite optimistic about the second half, both from a growth and profitability point of view.
All right, and what is the competitive intensity looking like for paints, adhesives, waterproofing? How are you standing to, insulate yourself?
See, at Pidilite, we are no strangers to competition. With our market shares, our profitability, frankly, every year we have a new set of competitors. Our job remains to hopefully delight our customer and our consumer a little more than everybody else. But the competitive intensity is high. Yes, we have new entrants in adhesives. We have everybody now in waterproofing, from the paint companies to the cement companies. But frankly, our growth rate remains healthy. So as we say, hopefully all of them are helping and grow the market.
All right, good to have you on board. That's the view coming in from the management of Pedilite.